Here we will see the steps of PDF form programming in GUI. So here we will see how to create a Adobe form. Along with that, we will generate the PDF using a driver program. So we all know that PDF forms are getting popular in ABAP programming, especially for those forms we will be combined in the SAP GUI together with web distros. So here we will describe the steps to create a PDF form. So first we'll have to install an SAP Adobe Lifecycle Designer for starting with the PDF form. The next step is we'll have to execute the transaction code SFP, which is for Adobe form. Now after that, here we'll have to create the interface and a form for the PDF. So different with smart forms, PDF form defines a separated interface for the program call. So here under smart forms we do not have any different interface part for creating the form, but under Adobe forms we'll have two forms to be created, one for interface and one for the form. So here in the interface, like smart forms, we can design the input and output parameters, global definitions, and do the initialization. So whatever data needs to be declared under the Adobe form, that needs to be provided under the interface part, and under the form part we will enhance the interface to be used by that form and then add that parameters of that interface in the context menu of that form. And in the form layout design, we can combine the output fields with the parameters to show the word in the form as we are needed. So these are the three parts under the Adobe forms. One is the interface part where we will declare the input and output parameters and global definitions. Next is the form part where we will use the interface variables which we have defined under the forms, and we will link that to the context menu of that form. And last is the form layout design where we will design the output fields with the parameters to be shown under that PDF document. So here once we design the form, next we will program the driver program for that PDF form. So here under the driver program, first we'll have to get all the data of that interface parameters. Then second step is we'll have to call the function module, that is PFP underscore function underscore module underscore name, to get that function name of that PDF form similar to the smart form. Then third step is we'll have to call the function module FP underscore job underscore open to open a PDF form output job. Then fourth step is we'll have to call the PDF function name the parameters which are referred to that interface parameters. And last we'll have to call the function module FP underscore job underscore close to close that PDF output job. So these are the 5 steps which we perform when we design a driver program for that PDF form. Let us take an example where we have used this particular function modules. So here we'll get the function module name of the PDF form with the help of this function module FP function module and name. So here under that exporting parameter, for this I underscore name parameter we'll have to pass this function module name. Then under that importing parameter we will pass the form name, that is the name where we have stored that particular function name. Then after that we'll have to set the job parameters like the output parameter names. So these are the output parameters which we have set for this particular function module. Now after this function module, next is we'll have to call the FB job open function module for opening that particular PDF form. So here we have provided this changing parameters. So this is the output parameters which was already been provided by the system. After this we'll have to call the function module LF underscore FM underscore name. So this particular function module is the function module name which has been provided under this particular importing parameter. So here this particular importing parameter which we have provided under this function module, we will use that and call that function module. And here under that exporting parameters we will pass the details like address, the item table, the item final table, and the payment table. So after providing the exporting parameters, next we'll provide the importing parameter for the PDF form output. And after that, last we'll call the function module FB job close for closing that particular PDF form. So these are the different function modules which we use under the driver program when calling that particular PDF form with the help of a driver program. So here we have seen the use of different function modules where we will call that particular Adobe form under the PDF with the help of a driver program. Next we'll see about licensing Adobe document services. Now first we'll see the use of this licensing service. The document services license service checks the license status of the interactive forms designs in the SAP system on daily basis. So here, whenever we install an Adobe Lifecycle Designer, we enable the authors to create new forms, designs or customize the developed form designs. So here the form design provides the presentation of the layout of that data, including the formatting information such as font size, the alignment, the field logic and graphics. So the data from the SAP system populates this design, that is a form design, and determines the final output, that what would be the output and what it will contain under that output when that Adobe Document Services processes that form design and data. Then the output can be used as an interactive forms or print forms. So here, to check the license status of that interactive form designs in the SAP system, which is done by that customer measurement program, we will have to install the licenses so that it will not encounter any error when we design that particular Adobe document. So here, for checking the license status, we'll use a transaction code USMM under the SAP system, and then the license status of that particular Adobe document will be provided under that screen. Here, the forms which we design under the SAP system are classified into different ways. Like we have customer forms, where it will display the total number of the forms. Then we have SAP forms, where it will display the total number of the original SAP forms. And we have draft forms, where it will display the total number of forms in a draft state. So here there are the different types of forms which have been displayed under the SAP system. Now there are some prerequisites before we start with the Adobe form. First we'll have to check the license for that particular Adobe form, and for checking the license and more information on that particular form, that is a SAP interactive form, we have an SAP note. Now SAP notes are those which helps us to rectify the errors which are occurred under the SAP. So there we have a note called as 750784. This SAP note will provide the detailed information about the licensing for the SAP interactive forms. So here we have seen about the detailed description about how the license under the SAP interactive forms is provided and what is the major use of that license. Now here we'll see the process of how this licenses are occurred. So first we'll have to log on to the Visual Administrator. Then under that we'll have to go to the Cluster tab, where we'll have to choose the server, that is the server name which has been mentioned. Then we'll have to go to the services and we'll have to click on Document Services License Service. Now here, this Document Services License Service will display the total number of the SAP forms, then customer forms and draft forms which are processed till date. Then we'll have to select the server, that is the server name which has been provided, whether it is licensed for that use of that SAP interactive forms by Adobe or not. So this is how we check the license details for that SAP interactive forms, where it will display the total number of forms which are classified under that SAP system till date. So this is how we view the licensing process under the SAP interactive forms.